Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. On this edition, we will be talking about the Saints Week 9 matchup versus the Chicago Bears. The Bears come to town in the Caesars Superdome to take on the hometown team, the New Orleans Saints. And the Saints are coming off a very convincing victory over the Indianapolis Colts. It seems like the offense of the New Orleans Saints is starting to trend in the right direction. We all know at the beginning of the season, the New Orleans Saints offense kind of struggled to try to find who they really were. As fans and onlookers of the team, it was extremely frustrating to watch. But over the last couple of weeks, I say about 2 or 3 weeks, we've seen the New Orleans Saints offense become a little bit on the uptick when it comes to offensive production. And we know about some of the things that have happened. Derek Carr, new starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints this season, he had to kind of learn a little bit about tendencies and personalities of guys. And he even had to go back and press the reset button when it comes to his emotions and the way that he approaches players and how he approaches the game as a Saints player. And, since then, especially last week, we've seen the New Orleans Saints offense be on the rise. But you have a Chicago Bears team that did a few things this past week that can help better them as a team. Number one, they traded for star defensive player Martez Sweat, who ended up getting a 4-year extension with the Chicago Bears. So they are can completely and utterly committed to Sweat and feel like he can be that cornerstone guy to help them win consistently. We know that they are a young football team. Even though they went out and got Sweat, they still need a few more guys on the defensive line to be able to wreak havoc, to be some of those classic Chicago Bears defenses that we all feared if we were fans of the opposition. But you look at this Chicago Bears team, they're going to be led by not Justin Fields, but Tyson Bagent. Tyson Bagent comes out of a little small school, Shepherd University. I had an opportunity to check out Tyson Bagent. I watched him at the Senior Bowl. I watched him at the Combine, got an opportunity to ask him some questions. And he's an even kill type guy. It doesn't seem like he gets too high or he gets too low. It seems like he has a confidence in his ability. And I had opportunity also to watch him play against the Los Angeles Chargers last Sunday night. And even though, it was a little bit of a struggle for him, which comes with the territory of being a young quarterback, you can see why the Chicago Bears really love this kid. I mean, he has a really good arm. He can make all the throws. I think he'll become much better as the game starts to slow down for him. And this is going to be a tough matchup for a guy like Tyson Bagent. Tyson Bagent, once again, he can make all the throws. But right now, you can see that he's a little bit confused when it comes to what NFL defenses are doing to him. And I think that the Saints, we know that they can make some of the best quarterbacks in the game confused. So this might be a tough outing for Tyson Bagent. I expect for him to have a good, solid career as an NFL quarterback. Will he be a starting quarterback in the future? I mean, that remains to be seen. But just that arm talent and that ability that he possesses, he'll stay in the NFL for quite some time. He can consistently make a steady paycheck. But, I mean, in order for the Chicago Bears to make this interesting, they're going to need to run the football. The Saints' passing game has been one of the best qualities of their defense, stopping the pass. But the run last week, Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor were able to have their way, especially early in the first half. Now, the defense kind of buckled down a little bit after halftime when they made their adjustments, and they were able to neutralize them just a little bit, even though Zach Moss came out of the locker room with a different type of energy. The Saints were still able to kind of neutralize that in order for those two running backs not to be a factor in the game. But when you look at the tape, you have to believe that the Chicago Bears are going to approach the Saints in this regard. They're going to try to run the football with Foreman, and they're going to try to run the football also with Herbert, their two running backs. We all know what Deontay Foreman is. I remember the last game of the season last year when he was with the Carolina Panthers. I mean, he was running all over the New Orleans Saints defense, And I think the only reason they were able to shut him down is because the referee shut him down because he ended up getting tossed out of the game. But all in all, I mean, this guy runs with reckless abandon. He's a big physical guy, and I think that he's probably going to be chomping at the bit to try to play in this game. I think that he felt kind of slighted that he was moving in such a strong direction only for him to be tossed out of the game. So you have to believe that he probably had this game on his checklist when he figured out that he'll be playing the Saints this season. And also Khalil Herbert, even though Khalil Herbert isn't a household name, he leads the team in rushing with 272 yards. He was a 6th-round pick out of Virginia Tech back in 2021. And they have a really solid 1-2 punch. I mean, he's averaging about 5 yards a carry, exactly where you want your running backs to be. And he's a guy, he can lower the boom himself. So I expect for the Chicago Bears to try to establish the run in this game versus the New Orleans Saints, which leads me to the Saints having a better outing, especially on the defensive front from guys like Brian Brzee and Colin Sanders and Nate Shepard, even though Nate Shepard had a really good game last week as far as his overall statistics. But the Saints are going to have to be able to neutralize the running game of the Chicago Bears because that is where their bread is going to be buttered, in my opinion. And also, you can't underestimate some of these wide receivers that they have for the Bears. Yes, these guys are still trying to figure it out. But you also have a seasoned veteran in DJ Moore, who I feel like provides that spark. Of course, we know about the trade from the Carolina Panthers to the Chicago Bears. Saints fans are very familiar, as well as the Saints team are very familiar with DJ Moore and his ability to be able to make catches, and not only that, but get yards after the catch. I expect for Marshawn Lattimore to probably tail DJ Moore throughout the game. We know about their classic matchups and battles throughout the NFC South when DJ Moore was a part of it. But you also have, Moody out there. He's a guy that can get behind the defense, catch the ball, and he can also make some spectacular catches in their own right. You have Cole Kmet, a really good, solid tight end that Tyson Bagent relies on, especially like when plays start to break down or he starts to experience pressure. He looks for Cole Kmet. I expect for Pete Warner to be one of the guys that lead the team in tackles today. I expect for him to be able to guard Cole Kmet, be able to get him down on the ground. This is going to be imperative. And also, even though he doesn't do this a lot, I expect for Tyson Bagent probably to move around in the pocket a little bit more. I think last week, the game plan kind of had him in the pocket, but he's one of those guys that he can roll out. He can extend the play. He can, allow his wide receivers to, kind of break out of their routes in order to come back to the football. So watch for a lot of these plays by the Chicago Bears to break down and for him to try to make a play. And that could be an opportunity maybe for the Chicago Bears, but it can be a big opportunity for the Saints defense as well. If they, stay on top of these wide receivers and also be able to keep a little bit of pressure on Tyson Bagent. As you look at the New Orleans Saints, a better outing, scoring 38 points last week versus the Indianapolis Colts. They were down 17-7 in this game. And I know that we have been giving the Saints a hard time, justifiably so. A lot of the things that we expected in 2023 did not happen, and they're starting to happen as far as the offense. But we expected for the Saints to be in a better position, have a better record, and also just being on the same page. We expected them to be a little bit further ahead. But nevertheless, everything for the New Orleans Saints is right in front of them. They're 4-4. They're a 500 team right now. They have opportunity of being 5-4 going into their next game versus the Minnesota Vikings. You've seen why the Saints, for the first time, went out and got Derek Carr, in my opinion. I think that was the best game in a Saints uniform for him. I'm pretty sure he heard the scrutiny, heard the questionings about is he the right guy, and he answered the call. And I was one of the people, that talked about him quite a bit. I still have my questions about Derek Carr and can he lead the Saints to where they need to be. But nevertheless, he had a really good game last week. As of right now, he has 1,910 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions on the season. Last week, he had a QBR of 130, where you want to be as a quarterback, being a part of the offense, being one of the main reasons why your team is being successful. So credit to Derek Carr for hearing all the backlash, hearing all the scrutiny, questioning him as far as with him on the sidelines and everything else going on. He still was able to go out there and put forth a really good effort. I liked some of the things the Saints did offensively. Most importantly was getting Alvin Kamara involved in the passing game, not just checking it down to him, but actually having him as a vital role in the offense, right? I mean, we've seen the angle routes. We've seen a lot of the catches out of the backfield, things that have made Alvin Kamara so special throughout the years. But we still have to pay attention to the running game. I want to see Alvin Kamara be able to run the ball a little bit more effectively, even though he has been extremely active since he's come back after 3 weeks to begin the season. He still hasn't really been running the football where you want a running back to be. I mean, he's about under 4 yards a carry where you definitely don't want to be. But that starts with the offensive line. The offensive line has got to open up holes and create lanes for Alvin Kamara to run through. We want to see Alvin Kamara be able to be a little bit more effective in the running game, and this can be a really good opportunity. I mean, the Chicago Bears are a team, once again, trying to figure it out. Defensively, they don't have too many of the horses in a barn. The Saints can take advantage of that, but it's going to be a little bit tough, right? I mean, even though the Chicago Bears are young and inexperienced, there are opportunities, but they are taking a lot of pride up front. Last week, Austin Eckler only averaged maybe like about 2 yards a carry, the running game of the Los Angeles Chargers. So if the Saints are going to win this football game, they're going to have to not abandon the run. Number one, you want to run the football in order to keep the defense honest, but you have to look at Derek Carr for the Saints to win a football game like this, because the passing game of the Chicago Bears, that is their Achilles heel. You got Tariq Stevenson, you got Jalen Jones, two young, really talented corners on the outside. They just need a little bit more experience, but the Saints are catching the Chicago Bears when they're trying to figure it out. And we've seen the Chicago Bears be susceptible to the pass. Teams have been able to light them up in the secondary. So I expect for the Saints to be looking for Derek Carr to be throwing the football and trying to help the Saints win this football game. I also feel like this can be a great opportunity for Chris Olave. Chris Olave has been struggling over the last couple of weeks. A lot of things going on in his life professionally and personally that I feel like kind of plays a role in that. But this is one of those games I feel like this can be a get-right game for a guy like Chris Olave to get away from all of the nonsense, all of the white noise, all of the stuff that's been plaguing you from reaching your full potential, and just go out there and have a good time. I just feel like he's a little bit too uptight. I feel like he's a little bit too much in his head. Football is a game of emotions, and I just feel like Chris Olave right now is kind of going through the motions. It's also creating opportunity for other guys like Rashid Shaheed to step up, and he has been answering the call. But I expect for the Chicago Bears to be looking at the performance and the production of Rashid Shaheed and what he did last week to zero in on him. And by that, I feel like it's going to open up opportunity for Chris Olave. I mean, teams talk. Teams try to come up with strategies and understand tendencies, and they can see that Chris Olave is kind of sputtering a little bit this season, and Rashid Shaheed is on the rise. So they're going to try to pay attention to that. Number one, they're not going to allow Rashid Shaheed to get behind them. I can see them using that as a defensive strategy. And also, I just feel like, Rashid Shaheed is going to be the guy they're going to zero in on. So Chris Olave, when his opportunities present themselves, he has to take advantage of that. And you also have Michael Thomas out there. I look for Michael Thomas to be that receiver that can move the chains. I expect for Michael Thomas to probably start off a little early in his game, playing a huge role, and maybe like in the second half, you'll probably see somebody like Chris Olave step up. I expect for Chris Olave today to go over 100 yards. That's my bold prediction today when it comes to the offense. Chris Olave going over 100 yards. And also the running game of the New Orleans Saints. Once again, the Chicago Bears, they do a really good job. I mean, they're not world beaters or anything, but they take a lot of pride at stopping the run. And the New Orleans Saints are still going to have to find ways to try to run the football. I know sometimes when teams aren't finding success running the football, they get away from it. But you still want to be able to run the football, right? I mean, you don't want to get away from it. And the New Orleans Saints last week did a really good job using all three running backs. We seen Kendre Miller come into the game. We seen Jamal Williams finally get a little bit of traction running the football. And we seen Alvin Kamara doing the same thing. So the Saints, they still should be able to try to run the football to try to keep the defense of the Chicago Bears kind of on their heels here. So if you're looking at this team, the New Orleans Saints, you have to believe that they're starting to find momentum. I mean, I said it last week. This could be two ways, right? This could be one of those situations where, number one, we can have the same mixed bag we've been having, which is win one, lose one. Or this can be the start. I'm talking last week's game versus the Colts. It could be the start of turning your season around, possibly going on a winning streak. And if you're going to go on a winning streak, you have to beat teams like the Chicago Bears. Like, no disrespect to any Bears fans that may be checking out this podcast right now, but it is what it is. The Chicago Bears are a team that is trying to figure it out. They're a team that is trying to do everything within their power to try to be as competitive as possible. This is a team that's probably going to take them a few years in order for them to reach their full potential. I mean, it's been quite a while since we've seen the monsters of the Midway, right? With Lance Briggs and Brian Urlacher and Faz Eddie Jackson and all these other guys that they had out there, and Peanut Tillman. Like, it's been a minute since we've seen some dominant players on the defensive side of the football for the Chicago Bears. So they're trying to figure that out. They got a lot of draft picks. They got the first pick overall in the draft due to Carolina's ineptitude this season. And they went in the right direction, getting Martez Sweat. But this isn't a team right now that is going to win a Super Bowl. The Saints have to go in and they have to handle their business. They have not been handling their business at home. The Caesars Superdome has not been that place where teams come in and they fear the loud noise of the Saints crowd. The Saints fans need something to cheer for. I mean, for the most part, the last time the Saints were in the Superdome, it was quiet. And then all of a sudden, the Saints start to rally a little bit versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you can hear the crowd. So you got to get a crowd something to believe in, something to cheer for, and you got to get back to your winning ways at home. I mean, you got to be able to win the majority of your games at home. That is how you become a playoff team. The Saints have been road warriors. They've been handling their business on the road, but at home, it's just been a completely different story. So I would like for the New Orleans Saints to go into a game where they're heavily favored, a team that is trying to figure it out in the Chicago Bears, and a team that seems like they're on the uptick offensively and defensively with the New Orleans Saints. They need to go out there and handle their business. Don't waste any time. I would enjoy it if this game can just be over early and we all just know that the Saints are just a better team that day versus Chicago Bears. But as we've seen in recent years, sometimes the black and gold make the most simplest things very, very complicated. But all in all, I got the New Orleans Saints winning this football game. I think they can do enough in order to knock off the Chicago Bears. I don't feel like it's going to be a blowout, but I expect for the New Orleans Saints offense to continue some of the things we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks, them trending in the right direction. But I would love to hear from you. What do you all think about the Saints Week 9 matchup versus the Chicago Bears? Make sure that you comment down below, like and share this video. This has been the State of the Saints podcast. And also want to let you know that we will be live for halftime of the Saints versus the Chicago Bears. And also after the game, I will be going live on Bleacher Report. Once again, I will be going live on Bleacher Report. Who Dat Nation, it's been a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication for us to get to this point. And I appreciate everybody's love and support. And I'm asking for your support as I do a live stream over on Bleacher Report. I'm going to go ahead and put that link down in the description so you all can be able to click on. Once again, going live after the game. Same thing. We're going to be talking about the Saints versus Chicago Bears, win, lose, or draw. So come on over, check it out, hit that link. I'm asking for your support as we do the State of the Saints podcast live on Bleacher Report. Previous episodes of this podcast are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Anchor FM. And you can follow me throughout the game on X, formerly known as Twitter, at TJAY Jones 8. Till next time, all I got to say is,